Start page 8. Slowly he is picking up the thread of the narrative. He speaks of the grief that is waiting for her on this particular day. So here, the nature of humanity is that it will have to pass through grief from time to time. Earlier he had described Savitri as a being from another world, a projection of the divine force. As such, grief is not at all, grief is foreign to her nature. But since this divine presence and being has entered into the human plane, into the human state of consciousness, it has accepted to enter into the darkness, to experience the darkness, the pain, the sorrow, the loss. Otherwise, how can she find a way out of the difficulty? If she has not experienced the difficulty, she will never know how to show the way out of it. This is always part of the choice the avatar makes. The avatar always chooses to take up the human experience, pass through its difficulties and sufferings, and then show how to come out of it. Yet, we start from there, yet only her outward self suffered and strove. So, it's making very clear there is the outward Savitri who has put on humanity as a kind of a cloak, and there is the inner Savitri who is an expression of the divine Shakti. This outer Savitri also has to strive, has to find a way out. The answers are never simple. We have Mother telling us, all kinds of sufferings have come my way, she says. There is no suffering I have not known. It is as though around her, in her physical existence, she has almost attracted the adversary forces. They have come, they have hurt, they have tried to harm, and they have never managed to overcome her. So this is again another aspect of Savitri. Even her humanity was half divine. Again, the same thing that he says about the mother, Sri Aurobindo says, that the mother was above the human even in childhood. And yet she was also a human. And this is the dual nature of the avatar. The supreme consciousness is above, beyond, supreme, untouched by any human weakness and frailty. But the embodiment of the divine puts on a human experience, puts on a human body, and accepts to go through the human suffering. Otherwise, she could not show the way to the human being. Her spirit opened to the spirit in all. Her nature felt all nature as its own. There is spirit and there is nature. Her consciousness was one with all. Her experience in the embodied existence is something that she has selected, chosen to go through. A path living within all lives she bore. She was alone. Nobody knew of the difficulties and the pain that are waiting for her. In fact, nobody knows what difficulties are waiting for us in our future. We just live in the moment. We are completely closed to any vision that takes us further. Only she knows. And therefore it is as if she, in her knowledge, carries the burden of all humanity. She can foresee the difficulties that are, the problems that are waiting for the human being, especially that human being who wants to make a journey. Life is a journey, and the journey is not smooth. There are ups and downs, there are falls, there are failures, there are momentary openings of great joy, and yet they are usually momentary. They are lost. All these different aspects of light and darkness is really the life of the human being. She has taken it up. This is why it is also a symbol dawn. Dawn is short-lived. Dawn breaks out of the night. And finally, dawn becomes day, day becomes evening, evening becomes night again. And this cyclical pattern of rising and falling is our path, is our journey. She bore the burden of this knowledge, of the darkness that is waiting for man. If he wants to break out of it, first he has to go through it and recognize the new light that can be really reached. But first we have to go through the darkness. And she bears this burden. Knowledge is a big burden. Man lives very lightly. He lives in the moment. He doesn't have the burden of knowledge. He could not have borne it unless he changes his whole being and his own consciousness. He would not be able to, he would break down under the burden of knowledge. And therefore that burden is only taken up by one who has the strength and who has the love, who has also that willingness, that compassion of taking up everything that man in his ignorance doesn't know that he has to go through. So she helps him to make his journey forward. Again and again every avatar has come. Again and again everyone has shown some part of the way. Again and again we have forgotten, we have pushed him away or her away, and we go back to our comfortable state of mediocrity with just a little knowledge and a great deal of ignorance, and feel that, yes, my life is not so bad, because I cannot see any tomorrow. I cannot see all my tomorrows. I cannot see anything. And so the blind who has never known light does not really feel the need for light, because he has never known it. She has the light. And she, in her love for her children, feels how deprived man is of this possibility of change, of growth, of light, of truth, of beauty, of grace. That is the whole nature of the Divine Mother, the Divine Grace. In fact, if you can remember, this is the nature of the Supreme Mahalakshmi. Today is Mahalakshmi's day. She is the Mother of Grace, the Mother of Love, the Mother of Harmony. She takes on herself the burden of all her children, so they don't feel heavy. She walks in front, and therefore we have drawn pictures of her feet walking ahead on our road. Apart, living within, all lives she bore. Aloof, she carried in herself the world. Her dread was one with the great cosmic dread. The great cosmic dread, unknown to man, the great enemy for man who is alive on the earth is death. When, where, how will this come, we don't know. But all beginnings lead to an end. The cosmos is made and doesn't know when it will end. Man is made, he does not know when it will end. Today, in her human embodiment, Savitri, the human being, is sharing that fear or pain of death. He is leading us to the end of the canto. There is a death at the end of her road. That is why today is a day where she is waking up slowly to the awareness of death. Her dread was one with the great cosmic dread. Her strength was founded on the cosmic mights. And yet, this is the battle. There is the attack and there is the battle against that. This is the nature of light that will break out from darkness. A day will come when a new beginning, a new change, a new manifestation has to happen. Again and again, if the divine has created the universe and there cannot be any other creator, it is not for nothing. It is to reach a state which is beyond our present, into another state, and not accept the present state as final, to go on to another state of existence. But the inertia, the presence of ignorance, the tamas, the unwillingness, the downward pull is strong. So that journey again and again seems to temporarily fail. So this is why there is always a battle. Life is a battlefield. The earth is a battlefield. All epics are based always on a theme of battle, not of one army against another, but of battle of light versus darkness, of what is true, divine, perfect, and what is imperfect, and especially our attachment to our weakness and imperfection, our acceptance of what we are as imperfect human beings. We accept ourselves to be this frail, weak being and say, there's no other way, I have to be like this. It is this that she has come to fight. Not for herself, because she is the Divine Mother. The universal mother's love was hers. Like all mothers, they bear the pain of their children. She is the universal mother. She bears the pain of all her children and takes them forward. Against the evil at life's afflicted roots, her own calamity its private sign, of her pangs she made a mystic poignant sword. So again, this image of life very often compared to a forest or a tree. The tree will climb towards the sun. But if the roots are rotten, it cannot climb indefinitely, it will have to fall. This duality of something that is imperfect, impure, and we are completely plunged in that impurity, like the roots go plunging down into the darkness. So if we are plunged in that ignorance, unconsciousness, blindness, naturally, though we may want to live forever and ever, it cannot happen. Though we always dislike death, we pray for immortality. We say, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. I want to go to Amrita. We cannot. Because there is some affliction and ailment. But afflictions and ailments are illnesses. They can be cured. They can be removed. They are not absolutely ingrained in our nature. It is as if we have made some part of our being rotten. Rotten with ugliness of ego and blindness and refusal and inconscience. It is this that has to go. And this darkness is there, almost aware that its time is going to end. So it is going to attack Savitri. It's like all creatures, when they know that their time has come, they have to leave, they give a last-ditch battle. They have to fight. They are cornered. Savitri is a warrior. She's love, she's wisdom, but she's also power. And this power has come for the sake of earth, for the sake of man. That is why if you read Mother's, talks, stories, you see the enormous work of fighting against all opposition that she has done in every cell of the body. It's such a long drawn battle. Every particle of matter has its own resistance. And this has to be fought, and the battle is not over. She has not gone, she is continuing the battle. It is always there, the power to overcome. It is still there, the power to resist. So this is the whole nature of the story. All epics, in fact, are based on battles. All great lives have to fight their own battles. So here you have the story of greatness. You have the story of a human race that is being lifted to its divine state by a force that has accepted to become human, so that it can participate in the human climb from darkness to light. Therefore, in her own life, she had to meet this calamity of pain. Of her pangs, this pain, she made a mystic, poignant sword. The pain becomes the reason for fighting. It's invisible, it's mystical, but it is sharp, it is strong. So now this following page will describe how the remembrance of pain is slowly growing in her, who for a little while had seemed to have fallen asleep. In the very early dawn or before dawn, she had fallen into the state that human beings usually fall in the night, a state of sleep. Why did she do that? A solitary mind, a worldwide heart. One mind has made this decision. She has taken into her heart the whole universal suffering. This is the work of the avatar. To the lone immortal's unshared work, she rose. This work is only done by the Shakti. This is not done by the consciousness. The Supreme Consciousness is there as the guide. But it is the Mother's force that does the work. Therefore, Sri Aurobindo has repeatedly said that my work, my yoga cannot be done without the Mother. He has put before us the truth. She has come to work it out in our daily life, in our material existence. So she shares all our material activities, among which there are moments of forgetting, moments of fall, moments of suffering, from which she has to wake up so that we also learn to wake up. At first, life grieved not in her burdened breast. It's very beautifully put. He doesn't say, at first she grieved not. No, she will not grieve. She in her essence is divine. But she has put on the human life. This life is always aware that it's there only for a while. It cannot last forever. And it is this that struggles to last, to continue. And the struggle is difficult. There is pain, there is grief. Now at this moment, in the very early hours of before dawn, she was in a state of oblivion, of sleep. So at first, there was no response. At first, life grieved not in her burdened breast. On the lap of Earth's original somnolence, somnolence is a state of sleep, dullness, heaviness, she has come down into this earth with its tamas, with its heaviness. Tamas is darkness, but tamas is also repose. It is rest. It is something that we need. It is the other side of darkness, is the quietness. So for a while she had fallen into that state of absolute repose. You mustn't forget, as a human being, she has lived with the foreknowledge of death coming into her life at the end of 1 year. This day has been coming closer and closer. Today, that day has come. Therefore, for her, sleep was not very easy, but at the end, she had fallen into a state of dull quietness and sleep. So, she had fallen on the lap of Earth's original somnolence. Earth is a mother. She bears the burden of darkness. She gives us rest. She gives us life. She gives us peace. She gave that to Savitri also. And therefore, inert, released into forgetfulness, prone, it reposed. It is life, not she. She had fallen into that state of forgetfulness, as if for a little while she had forgotten what day it was. Prone is to lie face down. She is not opening to what is upwards. When you lie face down, you are lying prone. So she had sort of lying face down, unconscious, on mind's verge. The mind was not working. If you may have noticed, if your mind is working, you can't sleep. Your mind shuts down, you go into a state of quiet rest. Prone it reposed, unconscious on mind's verge, obtuse and tranquil, like the stone and star. The stone and the star are just formations of matter. Man is also matter. There is a certain capacity, not just of being tranquil, but also of being obtuse. Obtuse is the opposite of sharp. That which is blunt. If something is blunt, it cannot cut. So it is just that this life had become blunt. It was not cutting into her. It was not hurting her. For a while, she did not feel the pain. He gives you an image of suffering. Obtuse and tranquil, like the stone and star, in a deep cleft of silence, twixt two realms, she lay remote from grief, unsown by care, nothing recalling of the sorrow here. Then a slow, faint remembrance, shadow-like moved, and sighing she laid her hand upon her bosom and recognized the close and lingering ache, deep, quiet, old, made natural to its place, but knew not why it was there, nor whence it came. So gradual return of consciousness. For a little while, she was as if unconscious. In a deep cleft of silence, between two realms, the realm of consciousness, total, absolute consciousness which is beyond all things, total silence, peace, light, total unconsciousness where there is absolute no movement. Man is between these two. For a while we return to the lower unconsciousness. There she lay. Therefore grief did not touch her there, unsown by care. It's a very vivid image. When care or pain, care is another word for suffering. Suffering cuts through you like a saw cuts through wood. So here he gives you the image of something that is cutting. For a while it did not. She seemed to have fallen into a state of peace, a physical, ignorant quietness. Nothing recalling of the sorrow here. So the first beginning of consciousness is where we begin to remember, to realize. When we lose that, we become tranquil, we become quiet. That's what usually painkillers do. They stop your consciousness from working, your nervous system does not disturb you anymore. For a while you can find some rest, your body finds rest and quietness to recover. It is helpful for a while. So did she. Why is she? Who is she? What is this life? This life is a journey from darkness to light. All these thoughts were for a while wiped off, forgotten. Nothing recalling of the sorrow here. Then the next stage, a slow, faint remembrance, shadow-like moved. Memory comes. Memory connects the past to the present. Memory, she remembers what she had been told a year ago. Faintly, the faintness of a far-off memory, coming closer and closer. So it's still not a very clear, absolute flash of direct illumination, but something. Today is a different day. Today something might happen. Vaguely. So that peace is broken. She knows something is going to happen, though not quite clear about what is going to happen. This is typically of the human stages that man goes when he is breaking out of sleep and coming into awareness. She is making the same stages. So, you see, there is a very important thing in us that relates us to all our days, and that is memory. So then a slow, faint remembrance, shadow-like moved, and sighing, she laid her hand upon her bosom. Something is hurting her. She's not quite aware what, and recognized the close and lingering ache, something that has been hurting her for a long time. It has become part of her daily existence. She has lived with it at every moment of the whole year. So something, it has become natural to her daily life, deep, quiet. She has not spoken about it to anyone, but it has been there within her, deep, quiet, old, made natural to its place. As if this faint, the knowledge of grief has become part of her being. But the mind is still not fully awake, therefore the mind doesn't tell her, why are you suffering? But knew not why it was there, nor whence it came. This is the second stage. It is as if these forces of mind and memory don't want to trouble her too much. Even there is a kind of compassion that they have. This young girl has suffered quietly, and the return to consciousness does not want to happen so that she realizes, remembers what has been making her suffer. The power that kindles mind was still withdrawn. It is this, the mind that reminds, the mind that remembers, the mind that forgets. And here it is mind which makes us individuals. We are not part of the world of life and animal and plant and stone. We have a mind. Mind contains all the things that we have gathered in the past, and with the help of this knowledge and experience, we try to shape our future as best as we can. But if it is not a very active mind, we shorten the journey by making simply living in this present moment, then we'll see about the next moment. But if you have a mind, you prepare the next moment, you live for the next moment, you can live for the next day, you can clear up the path a little bit, because it is a light after all. There is a certain clarity in the mind. That light is the power. It's a projection of the Supreme Consciousness on a very lower level maybe, but still it is a projection of light. That projection did not want to be active. The power that kindles mind was still withdrawn. Heavy, unwilling were life's servitors. Life's servitors are mind and body. We live in a body and mind is our servitor. So, as if these servitors are not willing to be active, they don't want to hurt her, they don't want to harm her. So, they are also full of love for her, they don't want her to suffer unnecessarily. Eventually, she will have to know, but delay that moment as long as possible. Heavy, unwilling were life's servitors, like workers with no wages of delight. Workers, when they are happy to work, they work well. These workers, the senses, the body, the mind, they were not happy to hurt her, so they did not want to become active. Sullen, the torch of sense refused to burn. The senses, they connect us with the world around us, the five senses, touch and smell, sight and smell and so on. So she's still withdrawn from the world of daily experience somehow. The unassisted brain found not its past. That is the whole story. One of the things that we live by is our memory. Otherwise we repeat the same mistakes, we repeat the same journey. The past is a preparation for the future. That is one of the roles of memory. But it does not want to show her the way. It doesn't want to tell her what the past has told her. The past has told her about a certain death that is going to happen. It wants to block that knowledge from her. Only a vague earth nature held the frame. So she was still a living being, slightly aware, but not quite awake. It's the second stage. But it can't last forever. Just like in our state of waking, from sleep to waking, there's a gradual shift from total unconsciousness to consciousness. It's a progressive thing. So he's giving us this progressive change. The third stage. But now she stirred. Her life shared the cosmic load. Now she woke up. The cosmic load of life, of action, of attempt, maybe of failure, a journey to be always fought. You have to fight your way forward at every step. All creatures, as he had said earlier, the bird or the beast or the worm or the plant, they all have to fight for survival. That is the first cosmic activity, survival. She also has to fight. Her life shared the cosmic load. At the summons of her body's voiceless call, by now she's awake. Her strong, far-winging spirit travelled back. Her spirit had withdrawn. It comes back. Back to the yoke of ignorance and fate. When you are aware of how helpless you are, how weak you are, then the burden of your fate is heavy. When you are not aware, when you are totally unconscious, the burden is not there. A star will die. When it will die, it doesn't suffer from before. But the man who is aware that he would like to live and march forward and will not be able to do so because of those forces that always pull him back, his weakness, his ignorance, his inconscience, he suffers much more. She is sharing that load. That is why the yoke of ignorance is very heavy and makes us aware of the fate. Man is immortal, he is a child of immortality. Man is mortal. Man is death-bound. Back to the labor and stress of mortal days, lighting a pathway through strange symbol dreams. She had moved into another world. She's subconscious, unconscious, superconscious, but not this present world. It's coming back to the other present state across the ebbing of the seas of sleep. Consciousness is often water. Unconsciousness also is water. This water is moving away from her. She is becoming an individual. Her house of nature felt an unseen sway. Her house of nature is her individual embodiment, body, life, mind. It is often compared to a house, and we have many floors. We live on many floors. There's a ground floor, there's a first floor, there's an upper floor, the mind and the life and the body. Illumined swiftly were life's darkened rooms, and memory's casements opened on the hours. Casement is window. The windows of memory open. So you can see, remember the past, because the window opens on to another, lets in light from outside. So her memory is opening to the past, and the tired feet of thought approached her doors. Because she has been, in her human mental existence, been haunted by this day. Again and again and again, this day has been there, present in her mind. Again it has come back. All came back to her. Earth and love and doom. She has come down on earth. She has come down to face death. She has come out of love. Who is she? An embodiment of love. For the sake of man, she has come to challenge the power of death. Where does this happen? On earth, the challenge takes place. In the conscious being, the semi-conscious being suffers. The conscious being, totally conscious being, challenges and becomes victorious. She is a totally conscious being, but she is also a human being. And therefore, she is going through this struggle for a whole year. The ancient disputants encircled her like giant figures wrestling in the night. Death and love. These are the two warriors. The divine grace, power, wisdom, love. The opposite forces of darkness, ignorance, unconsciousness, which inevitably end in failure. The Godheads from the dim inconscient born awoke to struggle and the pang divine. These forces of ignorance, these forces of struggle, they come out. That is how evolution takes place. Evolution is the first emergence of movements of change from a total inertia, and the manifestation of movements of change towards a little light, towards a little consciousness, is always filled with difficulty and struggle. And that is why evolution is never simple, progress is never easy. Difficulties become the starting points of change. They have to be. That is why the pang divine. Unless we suffer, we don't feel the need to change our situation, our conditions, our inner state. And this battle of suffering is happening inside her. And in the shadow of her flaming heart, at the somber center of the dire debate of love and doom, a guardian of the unconsoled abyss, inheriting the long agony of the globe, a stone still figure of high and godlike pain stared into space with fixed regardless eyes that saw grief's timeless depths but not life's goal. This guardian is the stone still figure which is of pain. Why does he say God-like pain? God, all gods are forces, universal forces. They have their laws and they fulfill their roles. They have never been capable, or they're never allowed to change. It is this pain which is at the center of the human need to progress and to suffer. Because unless we suffer, we cannot grow. That is why this God is at the center of the whole journey of the globe. The long agony, the difficulties, the sufferings that make us at some point realize that we have to change. If we can't change, this will go on forever. Things that are horrible, terrible, frightening, ugly, if we allow them to continue, we are simply like pieces of stone and mud. Because they hurt us, you say, I have to get rid of this, it cannot go on. So this is the role of this God. And this God suffers because He is making us suffer. But He has to fulfill His role. So He stares with fixed, regardless eyes. His eyes are blind. If He saw how much He makes men suffer, He might weep. But He is completely fixed in His function. Each God has been allotted a function. His function is simply to make man suffer so that man understands that he has to come out of it. Our evolution, our growth, our change will never happen unless we break out of a present state in which we are. And we will not want to break out of the present state if our present state is comfortable, is happy. The gods don't evolve because they don't suffer. Only man suffers. Therefore, only man evolves. And yet, He is making us suffer, and He is suffering when He watches the human being that He makes suffer. Later we have this beautiful sentence in the speech of Narad. I'm quoting maybe not quite rightly, but in book 6, Narad is speaking of the future destiny of the earth and speaks of a world of light and beauty and joy and perfection. And as he spoke, what is it? Yes, whatever they are, the devils, no, he doesn't say devils. When the dark beings, they weep with joy, foreseeing the end of their hard, fruitless work. So long they have been making us suffer, and they are suffering because this is the work that they have taken up, and the defeat for which they hope in vain. They want to be defeated. Man doesn't defeat them, man accepts them. But when Narad says one day this comes, the devils will be defeated, they weep with joy so that they can go back to the one from whom they came. They are emanations of the divine. They've come down into the darkness so that man can work his way out of the darkness. But we adapt ourselves to the darkness. We adjust. We make compromises. So they are never freed from their task. So here also he says, afflicted by his harsh divinity, bound to his throne, he waited, unappeased, the daily oblation of her unwept tears. Oblation is a liquid offering you make to a divinity. You put milk, or you put ghee, or in the very ancient times, blood, which you offered to the divinity. It is as if they sucked your energy. The god of pain was waiting for her tears. She did not weep. So he is not satisfied with, his role is to make her suffer. She doesn't show the suffering. All the fierce question of Pan's hours relived. The sacrifice of suffering and desire. It is desire that makes us suffer. And this is what had happened to Satyavan. He had plunged into the darkness and is emerging out of the darkness toward the light. She has come down to lift him out of this toward the light. Earth will hold him back. Death does not want to give him up. And this is the sacrifice. Again and again and again, for every human soul, there is the light that is there, present within. There is the darkness that is around, also within and around and below, that resist. There's a battle of resistance and there's a battle of aspiration between the two. The grace is there. The refusal to accept the grace is also there. Earth offers to the immortal ecstasy. Ecstasy is this love, joy, ananda, grace. We offer to the divine our humanity. The divine offers to us his divinity. That is the whole problem. And now, today, that battle begins again. By now, she is fully aware. The different stages from sleep to awaking have been covered. Awake, she endured the moment's serried march. Now, serried, very fast, quick, minutes, a few minutes only, a few hours, and then it'll be over. She endured the moment's serried march and looked on this green, smiling, dangerous world. We just see the surface of life, it's very beautiful. We don't see the hidden enemies that are invisible, below, around. We are half blind. We choose to be half blind. It's preferable not to see everything. Otherwise, it would be too frightening. And looked on this green, smiling, dangerous world. It is so beautiful, we are attracted to this world. It is on earth alone that we can make this change. It is on earth alone that we have to fight the enemy. And heard the ignorant cry of living things. Everyone is waking up in the morning, everyone is rushing to their daily tasks, completely unaware of what evening or night may bring, happy in the moment. This is the state when dawn comes. Dawn is beautiful. Nobody at that time thinks that night will fall. Dawn is glorious. Night, between dawn and night, what may happen? We don't know. This is how he starts Ilian, for instance. Sri Aurobindo's epic Ilian. It's an incomplete epic, so beautiful. But dawn brings the last dawn of the city of Troy. It's a beautiful dawn. The people are waking up and happy, and they are not aware that there will be no night. For them, the city will be burnt before that. And heard the ignorant cry of living things. Amid the trivial sounds, the unchanging scene, her soul arose, confronting time and fate. Only she is aware, man is not. She lived among men, by now totally aware, totally conscious, the representative of the human race. It's always the role of the avatar. The avatar is not a divine being only, he is also a representative of the human race. The possibilities that are there in the human being. Every human being has the possibility of the divine manifestation. In essence, every human being is an avatar. But every being doesn't believe this. We accept our mortality, we do not accept our immortality. She has come to fight for this. Her soul arose, confronting time and fate. Immobile in herself, she gathered force. This was the day when Satyavan must die. She knew. No one knew, not even Satyavan. So it is like gathering force, like any warrior, like a tiger or a lion becomes utterly still before it pounces. Here also she is completely still. This battle will happen in Book 8. Book 1, Book 8. In the story of the epic, it is not a story that starts in the beginning and continues steadily to the end. Who is Satyavan? We do not know. Why must he die? We do not know. So there has to be a lot of flashbacks. So this will happen in the next canto, the issue. Issue is not a problem, really. Nowadays we often use the word as a problem. Issue is the theme. The theme which has the problem, it has to have a problem, of course, but what is the theme? So the theme is given to us in Canto 2.